We are live.
Okay, the meeting of the Committee of the Whole Planning Administration now called to order. I would ask you to rise as you are able for reading the invocation. Mayor Davis, I believe you wanted to read the invocation tonight?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As we come together today, we recognize the great responsibilities laid upon us. Our council will always strive to understand the needs of the people we serve and to use power wisely and well. Our purpose is to establish and maintain a city of prosperity and righteousness, where freedom prevails and where justice rules. We acknowledge the rich history of this land, which includes the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Today, there are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who live or work in the city. The intent of this acknowledgement is to recognize our responsibility to use and take care of these lands respectfully and responsibly while remembering the generations past and considering the generations yet to come. We respect and seek to continue and promote the longstanding relationships with the Sarius First Nations, the Six Nations of the Grand River First Nation, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Indigenous peoples who reside within the city of Brantford. Let us also not forget those who served our community and who are no longer with us so that we can continue to do the work that we must in their memory. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back to you.
Thank you. You can be seated. Has the roll been taken?
Through the chair, the roll's been taken.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest for items on tonight's agenda? Councilor McCurry?
Yes, Chair, 7.1.1. I have a business relationship.
Okay, so noted. Any other conflicts? Seeing none, we'll move on. Members of the committee, are there any items for consideration or consent that you would like separated for discussion purposes? The following items are automatically separated. 7.1.1 because of Councilor McCurry's conflict. 7.1.2 because of a delegation, and 8.1 because of a delegation. And I'd like to separate 7.1.6, other separations. Mayor Davis.
7.1.8.
Seeing no others, Councilor Sicoli, can you please move the motion to approve all items for consideration, consent, not separated for discussion?
Moved by myself, seconded by my ward mate, Councillor Sullivan, that all items for consideration, consent, not separated for discussion purposes be approved.
Thank you. And if the clerk could read the items being voted on, please.
Thank you. All the items that are subject to the vote are item 7.1.3, delegation of authority bylaw update, 7.1.4, foreign direct investment phase 2, 7.1.5, overview of development charge incentives for rental housing, 7.1.7, responsible computing and artificial intelligence policies, 7.1.9 Brantford Heritage Committee report, 7.1.10 community safety and well-being plan, 7.1.11 municipal accommodation tax 2025 annual update, and 7.1.12 the minutes. Thank you, and that carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 11-0. All those voting in favor are Councillors Van Tilburg, Samuel, Carpenter, Hunt, Martin, McCurry, Sluss, Caputo, Sullivan, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
Thank you. As there are no statutory public hearings on the agenda this evening, we'll move to delegations. We have 6 delegations on the agenda. Before hearing the presentations of delegations, I would like to remind those in the meeting today that the following rules of decorum as set forth in the city's procedural bylaw. No person shall display any sign, banner, or placard in the meeting room other than materials that, in the opinion of the chair, are legitimate audiovisual aids necessary in connection with any presentation to be made to council. All persons shall use polite and respectful language and shall refrain from the use of any language or the making of any gesture that is disrespectful or offensive. All persons addressing council speak only to the subject in debate and shall not speak on any other subject. No person shall applaud participants in debate or engage in conversation or behavior that may disrepute the proceedings of the meeting. So first, I'd like to now ask Jason Nagy and Len Granger to come forward and speak to item 7.1.2. You have 10 minutes inclusive of questions. Yeah. There's a button on the base that you push to turn the mic on. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening, members of council. My name is Jason Nagy. I'm here in my capacity as the president of the Brantford Bisons Football Organization to speak in support of the proposed Dome Turf project for our city. As a community football organization, we see tremendous value in what this facility can provide, not only for our athletes of today, but for the long-term growth of our youth football programming in Brantford. Currently, winter months create significant challenges for our organization in regards to training and player development. Access to indoor turf field space is non-existent in the city, and because of that, we often find ourselves forced to rent facilities in surrounding municipalities. Every year, our club spends tens of thousands of dollars outside the city of Brantford simply to secure indoor training space for our athletes. These are dollars that we would much rather invest right here in our own community. A Dome facility would immediately become a heavily used space for the Bison's football program. We would eagerly utilize it throughout the off-season for both tackle and flag programming. It would support the approximately 800 athletes we have on an annual basis within our organization, both tackle and flag, by also creating opportunities for growth and expansion of our programs. Beyond football, this type of investment is an investment in youth development, healthy lifestyles, and creating more opportunities for the youth and families within our community. Facilities like this just don't serve athletes, they strengthen communities and keep community investment local. Brantford Bisons wholeheartedly supports this project, and we encourage council to give it the due consideration. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. If you could, we have a question from Councilor Carpenter first.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Jason. You got 800 kids involved with both between tackle and flag?
Yeah, we run 2 seasons of flag football and 2 seasons of tackle football, a spring and a fall of each.
Okay, so this was going to be a great practice place in the off season, winter months.
Absolutely. It would allow us to engage a little more deeply in athlete preparedness for a coming season. And it may also allow us to run a 3rd season of flag football that would be over the winter months, whereas we can't now because of obvious.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have any impact on the baseball diamonds that are at JC's Park now because your season.
We're indoors. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in your off. Even parking would be fine.
To my knowledge, yes, should be no problem.
Okay, we've also built a couple of all-weather fields for football when we didn't have place for football. We had a rain, football couldn't play. Is there still a need for another all-weather turf field for outdoor play?
I would say yes, there is. We're kind of maxed out with what we can use at Bison's Alumni and Kiwanis Field as far as the number of tackle teams that we run throughout the year and our flag programming. Another field would allow more flexibility for us for sure.
And one final question of my Jason. How many volunteers do you have with your volunteer coaches? You got a lot of volunteers involved. Do you know that number offhand?
For the calendar year, we probably have upwards of 125 volunteers from board members, directors, game day volunteers, coaches, managers, all of the above.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Ward 4, and we're happy to have you. And thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
Councilor McCurry, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Yeah, go for it.
Chair, thank you. Welcome, Jason. What are the ages of the kids that are playing Bison's football?
Our flag programming starts with the JK age group and goes all the way up into the high school ages. We've got U16 as our top age in that right now. Tackle begins at U10 and goes all the way up to U18 athletes.
And can you tell us whether a lot of the kids go on to university ball?
We have a number of athletes that do transition to university after their time with us, yes.
And CFL, if I recall, you may have graduated some people to the CFL as well.
Over the years, yeah, prior to my involvement, but yes, we've definitely had a few of our athletes traditionally that have gone on and had careers in CFL, yes.
Okay, so how far afield do you have to travel now to use an all-weather winter covered field?
So this past spring, music 2026, we rented the facility in Woodstock and rented a facility in Hamilton. So not terribly far, but that's another 20-25 minutes of travel that our families have.
Yeah, sure. And remind me what you said about the amount of money you're spending out of town.
In 2026, we spent upwards of $14,000 alone and that was limited training. I found when we're trying to book facilities outside of our municipality, we're on the bottom of the pecking order when we go to Hamilton, because we're an outside agency, outside club. The same with Woodstock. So we kind of get whatever was left, and through what was left, what limited availability there was, we were 14,000 plus paying Woodstock and Hamilton. So
And those people would be at the bottom of our pecking order.
let's hope.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you for your presentation and thank you for all you do for the community. I will now ask Robert and Scott Coleman to come forward to speak to item 7.1.2. You have 10 minutes.
Is that better? Yes. This was sent to the clerk's office because I'm unable to read it. I've lost my voice. Did everyone get it? Yes? Okay, thank you, Brantford City Council and Mayor Davis. If you've got any questions.
Just a quick one. So this is something you've been waiting for a long time. And there's the collaboration between the different sports groups is also already set in motion, is it not?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor McCurry.
I'll try not to tax your voice.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll ask the same question. How many kids have you got playing soccer in Brantford?
Approximately 3,000.
3,000. And who's going to win the World Cup?
Oh, who's sitting here? Let me see. I'm not supporting Germany, but I think they've got the best chance.
Ages of the kids?
And from 3 years old up to 19.
19. And what happens when you turn 19? Do those kids go off and play
We
elsewhere?
have open men's and women's after
Yeah.
that.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Councilor Hahn.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for coming. Currently, the soccer fields, you're utilizing the soccer fields at JC,
Yes.
but obviously only during the spring and summer and maybe into the fall.
That's correct.
This is going to allow you to expand your programming.
It'll allow us to expand back into the house league programs where we previously were with the last two buildings. Between open women's, the men's programs, and mostly the kids in the rep, I would probably say there's close to 800 kids where now they have no place to play.
Great. All right. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for what you do.
Seeing no further questions, thank you for your presentation and thank you for all you do for the community. With that, I'll now ask Randy Meggs to come forward and speak to 7.1.2. 10 minutes inclusive of questions.
Thank you for having me again. After listening to my friends with football, not to bore you, I will not go through all of what I have to say because most of Mr. Nagy's stuff touches on what we have. I have read the Soccers and most of what I have from them as well is touched on. But I did put a quote in a while ago. For 15 years, we've moved between 6 different private facilities, often dealing with leases and arrangements that didn't serve our kids very well. What we're hoping for now is the permanent home, a city facility in our community we can rely on. Year after year, so our kids are always safe. Consistent, a place to practice and grow. We have approximately 800 kids as well, and we spend approximately $120,000 a year off season just to put them in a facility to practice. Now, we have got facilities here in town now. They're very, one facility in particular was pretty much all we do have. Very tight, very expensive, and it's not city run. It's not for the taxpayers, not by the taxpayers. It's not for the people in this city. We can guarantee our time would be at this new facility. We would love some place that we can call home and not have to be looking for another place almost every other year. That takes up an awful lot of time. We've been struggling, we've been trying, even with what we had about a year ago. Prior to the elections, we had what we thought was going to be a really good go with the fact that the federal money was going to come in and the provincial money and grants, and then they both pulled back after the elections. But we are looking for someplace at home that we can invest back into our own community. And knowing that we're going to be here for the next 15, 20 years, because I believe between our three organizations, we probably have over 200 years of programming for players and kids in this community. And we'd like to keep them all right here in Brantford. We are losing more and more kids on a regular basis because it is difficult to keep them here without having the time and availability to put them into extra spots to teach them. So we want to keep our kids here. I know football does, I know soccer does. There are a multitude of other sports that I have talked to, softball. When it comes to the wintertime, there's no place for them to practice, no place for them to rent unless they leave the city. They go to Woodstock, they go to Hamilton, they go to Kitchener. Everybody has to drive. And with the cost of gas now, nobody wants to do that because they can't afford it. City would also gain, I believe, immensely in the fact that, from what I understand, even in the summertime with the Dome facility, the programming that the city puts out in the spring for their summer programs and that fills up within probably about 6 or 8 hours. This would also create a far larger opportunity for the city alone to create more programs and have a facility also to present those for those kids. Whether that's what the city would like to do or not, but that would be there now. And it would be in a controlled climate, so you don't have to worry about being outside all the time. Having said that, finished.
Okay, thank you. We have questions from Councilor Carpenter first.
Thanks for coming, Randy. And I know it's been a long time coming. We've had several conversations over the past couple of years trying to get something going here. You're already working with the other two organizations who already have a relationship. So working the timelines out, working with each other, that's not going to be an issue.
No, if we have a facility that's 60,000 square feet or larger, there's more than enough room there for many of the groups.
And your organization been bouncing around from place to place as the owner finds a new business or something else to go in there. This would be a permanent home. You'd know you have longevity here, and you can build your base and build your organization strongly because you have a base.
Absolutely. It takes an awful lot of pressure off of our organization. It's right now when we continue to look for leases in different places to make sure the zoning's right. The city's helped us in the past. They get some zoning change for us. Then they close up the shop. They don't allow us to be there anymore. Not the city, but the private people that had it. We have to find another place. We started all in elementary schools. And to not have to worry about year after year after year trying to find a place for the kids to be takes an awful load off of all the members.
What do you think of the location, JC's, that empty space in JC's Park?
That would be that'd be absolutely great.
And you'd be able to maybe put signage up for your organization so everybody knows exactly where you are, and if they want to donate to you, they know where to go do that as well.
Absolutely. I also think it's an opportunity, being a partner with the city as well, to be able to bring in some other companies that might want to advertise there as well, because it's going to be it's highly visible.
Yeah.
It's in a new area. There's going to be so much going on up in that area. It's going to bring, and again, it's not a difficult place to get to. And I'll be honest with you as well, that we do have quite a number of our kids, probably 25-30% of our kids are from the county. And again, as we expand in the city, it's a ideal location for all intents and purposes. It's the south end or our end, west end for Brantford for the Cockship Park for the summertime, north end for the wintertime. It's ideal.
All right. Thanks, Randy, for everything you do for our kids in our community with your support. Thank you.
Councilor McCurry.
Welcome, Randy. How many young athletes playing baseball in Brantford?
This year we have just right around 800.
Okay. And the ages?
We start at 5 and we go to 18U. And then depending whether right now we would have the 22Us as well, which are the juniors. However, we have a person that we have a very good relationship that wanted to own the juniors. So we still work with the juniors. So if they don't want it anymore, we will likely have the juniors back again. So we would at that point in time go to 22U.
And you're traveling out of town?
we're the inter-county. We also have interlock teams that are from Hamilton, Ancaster, Stony Creek, London, Simcoe, Tilsonburg, along with our major centers, which are Cambridge, Waterloo, Kitchener, Guelph, Woodstock, Brantford, which are the seven original ICBA teams.
Are you traveling out of town for training over the winter?
Right now, we're not, because we're spending $120,000 in a very small facility. Not ideal at all.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you for your presentation and what you do for the community.
Thank you.
And I'll ask Michael Manu to come forward to speak to item 7.1.2. And again, you have 10 minutes for your presentation inclusive of questions.
All right. Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Michael Manu, and I am making a delegation on behalf of Evolution Soccer Academy in support of the development of the indoor sports facility at JC Park. Evolution Soccer Academy, or EVO Soccer for short, is Brantford's top soccer academy. Through the leadership of our founder, Patrick Mizik, a former professional soccer player and Canadian national team player, we have grown from humble beginnings doing individual skill development sessions to delivering high-level technical training to hundreds of players over the past 3 years. At EVO, we are driven and laser focused on creating the best possible environment for youth by emphasizing growth, confidence, and a real passion for the game of soccer. We set high standards, maintain professionalism, and have a high attention to detail for all aspects of the organization. Because of this, we have gained the trust of players in the region who aim to reach the highest levels of the sport. Our impact is best demonstrated by the growth of our fall and winter program, in which we train youth players 2 times a week as a supplement to their club team commitments. What first started as a cohort of 20 players 3 years ago has now grown into a full 7-month development program where we work with over 100 players to help refine their technique and understanding of the game. We have also successfully run 2 summer camps for youth in the area, bringing in top-level coaches from FC Barcelona, CA Osasuna, who also play in Spain's top soccer league, and Brazil. These camps have been well attended and highly regarded, and have provided Brantford area players with exposure to elite soccer opportunities that haven't been previously available to them. The upcoming camp this year will only be better, with Osasuna coaches coming to instruct and identify top talent in the region for future opportunities after having strengthened our relationship with the club over the past year. Over March break, a select team of players went to Spain to train at the club and play exhibition matches, experiencing soccer at the highest level. Finally, we have and continue to work extensively with teams and clubs in the region, while also instructing and guiding coaches so that they can provide high-level coaching to their teams too. Our mission to provide a high-level environment for players to grow and develop is why we strongly believe in and support the initiative to develop the indoor facility at JC Park. We have largely relied on using gyms and SLAPs in the county to deliver our programming, but as we grow and as soccer in general grows, the next step is to have a dedicated sports facility in the city to ensure that Brantford area players are given the best chance to succeed. Just as an example, last year, SLAPs was unavailable for a few weeks due to some maintenance issues, and it felt like the soccer community was at a standstill until the work was completed. We tried to secure turf time at Redeemer and Wentworth and Hamilton, ComDev and KW. We even looked at Woodstock as a potential option. But with all of them ultimately being unavailable, we have to ask ourselves if we are doing our best for Brantford area players if we have to resort to such measures. On a similar note, the lack of a dedicated indoor facility has meant that we're ultimately limited in the programming and environment we're able to provide for our players. While SLAPs is a good option, it ultimately is a hockey rink space and limits the opportunity to train and play anything larger than small-sided games. Soccer, after all, is an 11v11 sport, and it would be unacceptable, for example, if in the region, hockey players had half of one rink available, basketball players had half of one gym available, or baseball players only had the infield of one diamond available for use. We aren't able to provide our players with the full experience of the game, and thus in a way, we limit their potential. This has led to most high-level Brantford players, including Patrick, having to resort to leaving the city to play for clubs that are able to offer that full experience. Players regularly end up in Cambridge, Kitchener, Hamilton, or even as far west as London, or as far east as Peel Region and Toronto, to play for clubs that train all year round in high-level facilities that support development in the best way possible. With this motion being considered, while the world focuses on soccer through the World Cup, It cannot be understated that soccer will continue to grow and become more popular. As a result, Brantford needs to grow in step and ensure that the momentum and excitement that this tournament is bringing can lead to genuine success for Brantford area athletes long term. In addition, with the success and development of our young people the utmost priority, we also understand that other sports will benefit from this space, and we completely support that too. We are highly cognizant of the benefits of young people being involved in sport, especially in an increasingly digital and antisocial world. Sports remain one of the best avenues for teaching important skills and values, and investing in this initiative sends a big message to the community that the city is committed to developing youth to their full potential. One point of consideration that we would like to make is to ensure that there's an equitable model for the use of space among various user groups in the city. We recognize that the city will look at REIs for a potential operating partnership. We emphasize the need for this process to be transparent and unbiased so that various user groups have the opportunity to use and access the space once it's completed. In conclusion, we are extremely excited for the future of soccer and sport in general in the city, and we're energized by this initiative. Given how much we have been able to achieve with the current constraints, we fully support the development of this facility to enhance opportunities for our players and ultimately improve the ability for high-level sports organizations like EVO to help young people achieve their potential. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions from the committee.
Thank you. Councilor McCurry.
Chair, thank you. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for coming tonight. So are you running 2 programs a year currently?
Yeah, so we run the fall and winter program, and that's one program. So we offer 3 one-hour sessions on Thursdays and Saturdays to the players. One of those days is in the gym, and one of those days, like I said, is at the county on Saturday evenings.
Okay. And these are like ages through 8 through 16, if I
8
remember?
through 8 through 15.
8 through 15.
8 through 15,
Okay.
yes.
And is this like one-on-one training that you're providing these kids?
No, this is technical training. So
Okay.
Patrick will lead the sessions, I lead the sessions, and then we have a bunch of support coaches that are supporting the players with all the exercises that we do.
Are you producing elite athletes?
I would like to say so. We have had a couple players who have worked with us who've gotten opportunities to trial for the provincial team. We have had a bunch of players who work with us go to the highest level of Ontario, the Ontario Development League. It's called OPDL. And so we're seeing success with the model that we have. A lot of players that we've worked with, even within non-OPDL, have seen growth and have taken bigger roles on their teams as a result.
Super, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you for your presentation and all that you do for the community. With that, I'll now ask Bill Harding to come forward to speak to item 7.1.2. Bill, you have 10 minutes inclusive of questions.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be back in council chambers again. I'm here representing the Brantford Sports Council and the Community Sports Councils of Ontario. We're in full support of the initiative that's being undertaken with the city here in terms of the new development of the facility. And we appreciate the opportunity to be here and discuss that dome project this evening. It remains important that we continue to build in all areas of our infrastructure as the community continues to grow. I may sound like a broken record to some of you, but sports and recreation is a catalyst that does bring a community together. While sport groups remain probably the largest user of facilities, all community groups will have 2 added fields that they can access to run their events. And we're working with a lot of the not-for-profits, the employers, employee groups, schools, individuals, families, etc. They all have one thing in common. They all run fundraising, and most of those fundraising revolve around some sort of sporting activity, whether it's a walk, a race, a volleyball game, or just out on the field kicking the ball around with the family. And we do that from, I guess I would call it from cradle to grave. What you've got is a lot of new, what we call day out, early morning programs for mothers and tots kind of things. I think there's a couple of them in the community, but I know that two of our directors are heavily engaged in the immigration and the new community that's here and working with the various groups there with the city and with other groups in the city. The facility does provide a couple of things I heard mentioned earlier. Year-round training facilities for some of our groups, which is lacking. We've not had that opportunity. I think this is the second one now with the one that was just, it will be open or it's not finished yet. The school's in, but the one in West Brant in behind the high school. I don't know if anyone, I tell anybody, if they haven't been down to see it, go take a look. It's a great facility and it's well done and it'll serve the community well. It's nice to have something in the north end as well. I think everyone still thinks that 15-minute drive from downtown from down West Brant to the north is a big drive, and some days it can be a little longer. But if you've driven in Toronto traffic like most of us had to do, that's I could handle that. The municipality is the key as they continue to advance their infrastructure plans. And we need to continue in terms of what the city's been doing in leveraging our local assets and stay ahead of those identified needs. I just said a couple of times to people, there's three things you can do. You can talk, you can do nothing, you can talk about it, or you can get going and do things. And I think we're on the right path to that. I think these initiatives starting now will only benefit us in the future as our population grows and our community needs change. Additionally, the new allocation policy, which was approved just a few months ago, will add fuel to all of this because we're looking at Brantford Home and making these facilities available on a basis that will cover all people and user groups that have a need for the facilities. Obviously, the whole program was geared around maximizing utilization of the facilities, efficient scheduling as well, issuing permits and payments and processes. And those are all gradually and being enhanced as we go forward, which makes it much simpler to control all the activity and have reports, know what's going on when it's happening, planning on a longer range calendar of activity. So you know what events are taking place in the community and they can be scheduled properly. So the benefit of both of those working together, new facilities and the allocation programs will benefit all of the community. And I would say this again, it's easy to complain. And I know you guys get a lot of it mostly. But if you do that in a positive and proactive way, ensure that it's done in a healthier, inclusive, physical, literate environment that we can all work. We can agree to disagree, but let's do it in a nice way if we can. This doesn't always work, and I've been on both sides of that, as both of you have as well. Most of you have. But let's continue to promote Brantford as a tournament capital and showcase that Brantford's not only a great place to play, but to grow and learn. Our Community Sports Councils of Ontario has been very active with all the new reports that have come out this past 6 months this year from federal, provincial, and local ministries about what they're trying to accomplish with the new agendas that they're trying to establish. Very slow process. However, there's a number of reports out there, and the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Group in the City of Toronto, along with the University of Toronto, have just reviewed several new reports with our group for the second time. And there's some action taking place that will be communicated back to all of our communities. The local sports council here and what we do in Brantford, what Brantford does here in terms of everything, economic development, events, tournaments, we've got such a heritage here. We need to showcase that, and Brantford is being used by the Community Sports Councils of Ontario as a best practices, if you will. We may not have them all, but at least we want to get people here to showcase what can happen in a community when everyone works together. I'm looking forward to seeing the first shovel in the ground for this project as well. And Our focus hasn't changed since we did the 2024 conference on strengthening sport in communities across Ontario. And it's just been enhanced now. We have a whole online program with some 200 people engaging from sports councils across Ontario, ministry people, municipalities, other major groups that are sports interested as well. And that's something we do on an ongoing basis now. And it's all driven now by AI. We're just implementing the AI. Scary, but we're implementing something. Anyway, I'm again looking forward to seeing the first shovel in the ground, and certainly want to congratulate the city and the Parks and Rec team in putting this together, not just here, not just for this facility, but for the fields as well. There's a lot of work that's been done. The user groups have been engaged, I know. Again, we agree to disagree on some things, but we're trying to get a platform that works in the best interest of all. So on that note, any questions?
Yeah, Councilor Carpenter, you have the first question.
Thank you. And Bill, really not so much a question is, you've been the main face, one of the main faces of sport in this community for as long as I can remember. And I just want to thank you for your long time support for the sports and your passion.
It keeps me out of the house.
Yeah, and for your support. So thank you again for that.
Seeing no further questions, Bill, that 15-minute drive, I think because of construction is now 16 minutes, but it's still doable. Thank you for your presentation and all your support you do for the community. Okay, that's it for 7.1.2. We have one more delegation. And now ask Rhonda Nordlander to come forward to speak to item 8.1. You have 10 minutes inclusive of questions. I don't think that'll go up on our screen.
We have provided a copy of your presentation to all members of council through the delegation list, so they do have a copy of your presentation.
If you could turn the microphone on, would it work a lot better? Thank you.
My name is Rhonda Nordlander. Thank you, council, for allowing me to be here and to respond to Mayor Davis's compassionate solution on homelessness and addiction and mental health. Like that. Thank you. I'd just like to start off is that I'm here to oppose this resolution, not because I oppose community safety treatment or helping vulnerable people, but because I believe this motion is overly focused on enforcement and coercion while failing to address the root causes of homelessness, addiction, and mental illness. I also believe it places unrealistic expectations on police officers and risks expanding government control over vulnerable individuals without first ensuring adequate access to housing and treatment. For this, it's very personal to me. I'm wearing this feather today because a friend of mine, a person I met on the streets that I was helping out last winter, his name was Dreamer, and he overdosed last month, and he left a widow who wears a feather in her hair now. and he couldn't get treatment. He wanted to live. He had dreams. He had a dream catcher on his face. He's an Indigenous man, and you could see that he was trying to stay off the drugs and trying, and I could see him doing well from time to time. And then it took him, you know, so he always wore the feather. I'm doing this today because I hope that this will help you also understand how much these people mean to us out here. Okay, so moving ahead, and it's also another personal reason. I've suffered through addiction, and my father died from addiction. So I really feel that we really need to take the opportunity to get treatment here ASAP. My slide one would have been a compassionate alternative response to homelessness. Today, I'd like to discuss a different approach to homelessness, one rooted in compassion, accountability, and practical solutions. Homelessness isn't solved by punishment alone, which when you involve police officers in it, it does feel punishing, right? A little criminalizing. It requires understanding, support, and community involvement. The goal is to meet people where they are at and help them move forward with stability. Throughout this presentation, we'll explore how we can balance compassion with public safety. But first, it's important to understand how people end up homeless in the first place. The reality of homelessness. The pandemic exposed how quickly people can lose stability. Many people experiencing homelessness once had jobs, homes, and public and support systems. Job loss, eviction, domestic violence, addiction, and untreated mental illness often intersected. These aren't isolated stories. They represent gaps in our system. To address homelessness effectively, we need to understand its root causes. Homelessness is usually the result of difficult circumstances, not simply bad choices. Factors include poverty, trauma, domestic violence, mental illness, relationship breakdowns, and unaffordable housing. Addiction is often one piece of a much larger picture. If we only address symptoms, we miss the opportunity to solve the problem. Solutions begin by addressing the causes. Even when supports exist, accessing them isn't always easy. Supports exist, but systems are fragmented. By this, many communities have services available. The challenge is that they're often disconnected and difficult to navigate. People may face transportation barriers, long wait lists, lack of phones, repeated retelling of traumatic experiences. The issue isn't just the absence of services, it's the difficulty accessing them. So what does an effective response look like? Compassion and accountability. Compassion and accountability are not opposites. People struggling deserve treatment, housing, and support. Communities also deserve safety and protection from criminal activity. Both can exist together. Compassion without accountability fails, and accountability without compassion also fails. This means enforcement needs to be focused where it truly belongs. Focus enforcement where it belongs. We should distinguish between people suffering from addiction and those exploiting them. Law enforcement resources could target drug traffickers, human traffickers, organized crime, and those preying on vulnerable individuals. The goal isn't to criminalize illness, it's to protect people from exploitation. And at the same time, we need alternatives within the justice system. Diversion programs redirect eligible individuals towards treatment instead of incarceration. When treatment is available, diversion can reduce court costs and improve outcomes. However, diversion only works if treatment spaces actually exist and people cannot be referred to services that aren't there. This raises difficult questions about mandated treatment. Mandatory treatment requires safeguards. Any discussion of mandated treatment must include protections for individuals' rights. We need clear legal safeguards, oversight, and due process. Questions about who authorizes treatment and how appeals work must be answered. Compassionate intervention should never come at the expense of dignity. Safeguards build trust, whether services are voluntary or mandated. Investment is essential. Funding must produce results. Communities may need increased investments in mental health, addiction services, and housing. Taxpayers also deserve accountability. Funding should include clear objectives, public reporting, measurable outcomes, and regular evaluations. Success means stronger services, stable housing, after safer communities, and better lives. Investment without accountability is not a strategy. And finally, perhaps the most important investment is prevention. The best way to reduce addiction and homelessness is to prevent them from before they happen. School, family, mentors, and communities all play a role. Early intervention helps identify struggles before they become crises, and education, resilience building, and support creates healthier futures. Compassionate communities don't simply react to crises, they work to prevent them. Indigenous perspectives and community healing. As we explore solutions, it's important to recognize the importance of Indigenous knowledge and healing practices. Many Indigenous communities have long emphasized connection, belonging, respect, and collective responsibility. The teachings of courage, wisdom, respect, honesty can guide how we respond to people experiencing homelessness and addiction. Healing often happens through community, culture, and restoring a sense of identity and purpose. We all belong, and lasting solutions must respect culture, history, and human dignity. We don't have to solve these challenges alone. We can learn from what others are already doing successfully. No single community has all the answers. We should study successful approaches from other municipalities and adapt what works. Partnerships between school, healthcare, not-for-profits, faith groups, and peer often create stronger outcomes. Start with pilot projects, measure results, and expand what proves effective. Expanding on the Mental Health Act, compassion or loss of civil liberties. This is perhaps the most difficult part of the conversation. The proposal asks whether intervention should happen before someone reaches current legal threshold. The intent of compassion intervention during severe addiction or mental health crisis, and however, we must carefully weigh compassion against individuals' freedoms. Good intentions alone are not enough. We must also protect rights. What concerns leads directly into civil liberties debate. Civil liberties concern. Expanding involuntary intervention raises legitimate charter concerns. Canadians have a right to liberty, security of the person, and protection against arbitrary detention. Individuals also have a right upon arrest and rights to informed consent whenever possible. Many worries that illness,
You have 30 seconds left.
poverty, and homelessness could become reasons for people to lose their freedom. Protecting vulnerable people should never come at the cost of abandoning fundamental rights. So just into leading this to the end, I did have a petition filled out where we received just over 100, almost 100 names. I didn't have any success with it digitally. I only got 2 signatures for some reason, but there's a lot of interest in this, council and your worship. And I would really like you to reconsider your motion put forward and perhaps work with Mary Mousson, who used to be in the military, and she knows very well about the project that I'm trying to
Okay, your time is
propose.
up.
Yeah, to use an immediate solution for this winter pilot project. Thank you. I put pictures over there if anybody's interested or has any questions. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. We will begin with items that had delegations. Councillor Van Tilburg, if you please read the motion to put all separated items for consideration consent not previously voted on the floor and state your seconder.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Samwell that all items for consideration consent 7.17.2 be separated for discussion purposes be approved.
Thank you. We'll now consider item 7.1.2. Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On my reelection 3.5 years ago, working towards establishing an indoor practice facility was an important priority for myself and this council as well. And that was due to a lot of lobbying by members of the community, some of whom we've heard tonight, but also from my own real world experience. I have 3 grandchildren in Burlington, 2 of whom are in soccer. I think I've been to every single indoor practice facility in the western part of the GTA, including the Shangri-La, Paramount in Mississauga, to other facilities, won't say in which town, where the washroom facilities were actually warmed, heated Johnny in the spots. But what I did see was a lot of enthusiastic young people and a lot of different sports receiving the kind of training they require in the off season to maintain their skill set and improve their skill set. So I think it goes without saying that I support this wholeheartedly, and I thank staff for working very diligently on this over the last several years, in particular our facility staff, but also our CAOs, both the previous CAO and the current CAO. And I see this as, you know, we're the only facility in Southern Ontario, 100,000 plus, to my knowledge. It doesn't have an indoor practice facility. It's almost kind of embarrassing. But I see it as a question of, by not having a practice facility, it's a question of opportunities lost. It's the lost opportunity of having some of our top young athletes who join teams in other cities that have access to these training facilities. And once they join a team out of town, very likely they come back to play for a team in town. We also lose the opportunities for local athletes whose families can't afford to join teams outside our community where there is access to indoor facilities. We'll be able to keep those local athletes and see them excel. There's also, in the work I've been doing in economic development, there are some industries and there are some people that it's a relevant factor for them in locating, either personally or their business, you know, what the sports facilities are in the community. And this certainly would be a great asset. And then there's the opportunities lost in being able to, as we have been, promoting our city as the tournament capital of Ontario. And this will allow us to better market the city in that respect. In my mind, this is a great opportunity for our city, but more importantly, for the youth of our city in those sports that require an indoor facility, whether it's cricket, whether it's soccer, whether it's baseball, you know, whether it's soccer. There are a number of sports that can profit from this and benefit from it because it will be an AstroTurf type facility. Unlike there are indoor facilities in town right now, high school gyms, but it's a hardwood floor and you just can't practice many of these sports on a hardwood floor. So great idea, and I'm very happy to support it. I'm very happy to see staff having pushed this forward very diligently with the support of this and the past council.
Thank you. Councilor Caputo.
Thank you. Kind of stole my thunder there a little bit, but we're all good. You know what? For 15 years I've been here, I always thought we needed this, and it was probably one of the most sought after questions that was asked to me when I was running for council 4 years ago as to why we didn't have a facility such as this. And you know, as Mayor Davis said, when you have a community as large as ours, we're not this little Brantford anymore. We are a full-fledged, full-blown community, and to not be able to provide a facility such as this certainly needed to be rectified, and I'm glad that we're doing this here tonight. This is going to allow our families to stay within our own city and create that training ground and that off-season abilities where they're not moving to other cities to get this accomplished. I think it's just going to help. It's going to keep monies more into groups that are going to be able to allow them to maybe keep registrations lower, anything that's going to happen that way so that money's spent and it doesn't discourage families from putting their children into sports because there isn't anything locally that can do this. It's community health, right? It gives our local groups a safe indoor place to play all year long and at home. And then there's the value spending part of it, right? So this is, you know, funding through reserves, and external grants protects us from our local taxpayer from having to put money into this program. So I fully support this. Wish it was here when my boys were playing. Coach Nagy, great football coach, by the way, man. So yeah, supporting this full force, and I'm really glad that we're doing this today. And I'm sure Mr. Bradley is going to welcome the idea that I'm not driving him crazy about wanting to build this facility.
Thank you. Councilor Samuel.
Thank you. First, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight to delegate to this. I know it would have meant a lot to have this when my boys were still playing soccer, and I know how much our community needs this. And so I look forward to supporting it tonight. Thank you.
Councilor Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, thank you for staying with us. We're staying honest and we're trying all the different options that we went through already, and for sticking with us and having faith in us that we'll eventually find a solution to this, the need. And Now it's before us. It's a wonderful location. And when Linda and I were first approached by park staff about this location, we were thrilled. We said it's a perfect fit. It's a great spot for it. Now, we may have to make some adjustment with the skateboard ramp. We may have to find another home for that if we need the parking. We may or may not. We won't know until after it's up for a season, but it's a great fit for our community. It's been long overdue. As the mayor said, we've been working on it for some time, trying to find a location. We had a couple locations that didn't quite work out. This location is a for sure thing now. So we passed this tonight. This is happening, and that's the location it's happening at. So thank you for everything you do for supporting our community, Bill as well, and your board members and all your coaches. Makes a big difference. Kids that are active in sports aren't active in things they shouldn't be active in. They're active in things that they learn about team play. They learn about community. They learn about the value of our community, and you all make our community a better place to be because of what you do for the kids. So this is our way of saying, you've told us you want this. Here it is. Thank you.
Councillor Van Tilburg.
Yeah, I am actually pretty excited about this. In fact, Brantford's been, I would say, behind on providing these kind of services to their kids, and that, especially when I hear, the communities around us are all doing it and we haven't been. And I think one of the things that most caught me by the delegates, and there's a bit of a similar history, that no matter what it is, the subject that we'll be talking to, and we'll get to another one later, but I'm going to say this, the delegates said something very important that I think the rest of the community needs to hear. They had been working through different levels of federal and provincial government, trying to get their support for a great cause for the city of Brantford. And they balked. Is that a good terminology from the baseball guys? Yeah. We're not going to balk. I think we're going to get unanimous here. We're going to stand up for our community. And my gosh, I think it's time that these other levels of government come and stand up for our community too, no matter what it is we're asking for, what the community is asking for. It seems to be that we are always the ones having to pull the heavy weight here.
Thank you. And Councillor Sless, I almost missed you there.
That's fine, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I'd just like to thank the groups for showing up tonight, but even more importantly, thank the groups for keeping this in the forefront. It's long overdue. It's not like it's a nice to have. It's a must to have. There's many kids in this community that are either vying to play at a higher level than the current, or they're looking for scholarships. And this will certainly go a long way in helping them achieve those goals. Playing sport, we had a large family and all our kids played sport. And I think at the end of the day, being involved in organized sport, in minor sport, creates good citizens. It creates awareness of fair play. It creates an awareness of playing honest. And I think to be able to further that as a community, I think it's incumbent upon us to do that. So this evening, I'll be wholeheartedly supporting this. Like I said, it's long overdue. It'll be nice not to have the phone ring and have to explain why we don't have it again. It'll be here, I believe, in the material it said should open in 2027. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure the groups are, and it'll be an exciting day when that ribbon's cut. So thanks to everybody involved that put this project together, and let's keep it going and let's get it open as soon as we can. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor McCurry.
Chair, thank you very much. And thanks to everybody that turned up tonight to advocate, although it really wasn't necessary. You've already done all that advocacy work, and that's why it's here before us tonight. Without you, it may never have come to be, even though we are maturing as a community and we've seen the maturation of some of the sports organizations in our community. Gosh, when I was a young guy, we'd maybe get a 2-week training camp and play yourself into shape. I don't know if you guys remember those days. But it's interesting to see how sport as an institution has also matured and how it's become more professional, and how you see a lot of these kids now looking at careers in sport, not just becoming elite athletes. Volunteer-driven organizations, you guys epitomize that. And like the sports entertainment complex, this will not cost the taxpayer a whole lot of money. We've found other sources, and congratulations and thank you to Mr. Bradley and Ms. Wisco in particular for the work they've done on this file for us. For you, the coaches, for the athletes, you don't have to go to town anymore once this is built. You'll just have to fight over time in the facility. Good luck with that. There'll be a lot of competition. It's going to extend your season. It's going to keep your kids here in town. The elite athletes will get to stay here instead of being wooed away by some other community that has these all-weather winter training facilities already established. So good work, guys. The work's just beginning, I guess. Thank you.
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks to all the delegates. I think Councillor McCurry hit the nail on the head. Thanks for coming to speak to us, but we certainly heard your message loud and clear. Very thrilled to be able to welcome this to Ward 4. I think it's a very nice fit to what I would think is an underutilized soccer field at the west end of JC Park. And so we're really going to see, and I just was counting the number of kids that you guys were referring to, and I count around 6,000 kids that are now going to be able to either stay in town for any winter programming that they've got, or are going to be able to access enhanced programming. And that, that's really beneficial to our youth. But I also I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the volunteers. So whether it's you guys here in the room, all the volunteer coaches, again, they're volunteers. I know my husband coached baseball for years. Yeah, you load up the minivan, you got to drive the kids all the way out of town. And then I just heard some of the numbers. You're spending $120,000 for winter time in another community, and that's dollars that are now going to stay here in our community. So that's really, I mean, it's a good news all the way around. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing this be built. And again, thank you for all you do and all your volunteers with the organizations. The kids in our community really do benefit from that work.
Seeing no further questions, let's make a couple comments. Thank you to all the delegations who presented tonight. Your passion shows through, and I'm sure it's a passion that's shared by all the volunteers and volunteer coaches and all the other volunteers in your organizations. And we've had nothing but positive comments from members of council. So I'm going to go way out on a limb and predict this is going to pass unanimously. So with that, we'll call the vote.
Thank you. Item 7.1.2 carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 11-0. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councilors Secoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Celeste McCurry, Martin, Hunt, Carpenter, Samuel, and Van Tilburg.
Thank you. Normally I'd move item 8.1 up because we had a delegation, but the delegation's left. So we'll just proceed through with the items in order. So the first one on the floor is 7.1.1. This was because of Councilor McCurry's conflict. Did anybody wish to speak to this? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Thank you. Item 7.1.1 carried on a recorded vote of 10-0. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councilors Secoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Celeste, Martin, Hunt, Carpenter, Samuel, and Van Tilburg.
Thank you. And 7.1.6 was one I asked for. I just want to confirm things with staff that the Chinese lanterns will be banned from this as well.
Through the chair or to the chair. Yes, that is correct. It does. The definition of consumer firework does include flying lanterns.
Wonderful, because I had one come down in my backyard. Luckily, it landed on the cement. I don't know if it was still burning when it landed or not, but landing on the cement was the right, luckily thing for me to have happen. Seeing nothing further, we'll call the question. You have to hold your hand up higher, Mayor. That's better.
So the fireworks, just to be clear that this option 2, like I asked staff, this option 2 would ban fireworks in the city and the sale of fireworks except for what we do in our parks. But what is a city sponsored fireworks event? Is that correct? Just want to make sure I got that straight. Because there are a couple of different options. I want to make sure that's the one.
Dave Weidrich, Director of Bylaw and Security through the chair. So again, Mr. Mayor, the question was option
So,
two.
so the resolution says we're going with option two, right? So what is option two?
Option two is to ban consumer fireworks and ban the sale of fireworks in the city of Brantford.
All right. And does it also ban fireworks being set off privately?
Not if the organization, community group, religious group get a permit through the fire department and they follow all the rules, have the necessary insurance, things like that. Firework displays will still be allowed, just not the issues we've been having with private property owners setting off fireworks.
Okay. So what will be permitted during Canada Day and Victoria Day? Because right now you can set off fireworks in your own yard, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What will the new rules be if this is passed?
You will not be able to, but community groups and religious groups can apply and do it as a whole organization at a city park that's approved.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, I certainly can support this. I mean, the data that we have in the poll certainly shows there is a overwhelming majority in our community that would like to see this. And, you know, it's unfortunate because several years ago, we opened up the ability of individuals, private individuals, to be able to display and set off fireworks. We thought that we were striking the right balance between the desire to do that on various holidays, with the desire of some people to have some comfort in their lives and quiet. But unfortunately, and that's why we had in place rules about when you could do it, where you could do it, the days you could do it. But unfortunately, what's happened anywhere in the city, we know that we have fireworks going off at hours that aren't permitted, fireworks going off in a very unsafe manner, fireworks on days that they aren't supposed to be setting off fireworks. So unfortunately, what's happened is those who will not follow the rules have basically spoiled what it is we were trying to do for the city and for various groups and individuals that wanted to use fireworks on various holidays. So I don't think we have any choice because it's impossible really to enforce these rules that we have. You call bylaw and they send up the fire department, and usually once they arrive, the fireworks are no longer being set off, so there's no evidence. And I agree with staff. The only way to really deal with this effectively is an outright ban on private fireworks. That's much easier to enforce and publicize. So I had hope, because I was one of those who moved several years ago for the expansion of the holidays that fireworks would be set off. But unfortunately, those who don't follow the rules have spoiled it for those that do. And I certainly am very sympathetic to a number of residents who have grown increasingly frustrated with how fireworks are set off well outside the rules that we have set out. So would have preferred not to have to vote for this, but given what's happened the last year or two, I don't think we have any choice.
Okay, Councillor Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for you, Dave, question. The issues with the fireworks, as I understand it, are primarily individuals that are breaking the rules anyway, right? Like they're doing fireworks at 3 a.m. or doing them in a park. Like those are the issues that we're experiencing right now. And we can't respond because by the time we get there, the fireworks are gone and there's no way to punish the bad apples. So what is the plan now? Because the people that were breaking the rules now are going to continue to break the rules and do fireworks next year. So what is the plan for making sure that this isn't, that we're following up on our own rules?
Through the chair. For us, next month, a new report will be coming for the AMPS bylaw, which allows us to mail tickets to owners of property, permit. We're going to be enforcing the firework bylaw better. Right now, we can only use the noise bylaw to enforce it. With this amendment, we'll be able to go after those doing it. Yeah, even if a neighbor witnesses it, we can use that and go after them that way. So it will be more of a communication, and that's why we're asking not to implement this till January, so we can really get the education out there so they stop.
So is that something we could be doing now if fireworks were allowed?
The education part or the
No,
enforcement
no,
part?
sorry, well, you're mailing the tickets.
Well, we'd have to amend the bylaw to allow amps to be charged under the fireworks bylaw. Other cities that have done this saw a drastic drop in their charges and calls for service.
Okay. Thank you. This one's a little sad for me, I'm gonna be honest, because one of my favorite memories from my childhood from raising my children was the family getting together and doing fireworks and having a barbecue. And it's a sad day where we have a small group of people who are ruining it for all of the hardworking, law-abiding citizens here. Now we're looking at a ban, so it's a sad day. But I agree, it's one of the top complaints that I get, and it's something that we're gonna need to crack down on. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Carpenter.
Yeah, one of my main concerns originally was how are we gonna enforce it if we can't enforce it now, but you've explained that already to Councilor Secoli. I'm just wondering if if council is going to ban fireworks, then maybe we should have on those special days, we do at Canada Day, we have our own fireworks, but maybe we should have one at Victoria Day. Maybe we should be organizing that structure of fireworks on special days so the community can have that experience of enjoying a barbecue or family get together for fireworks. But otherwise, I agree with this ban. It's been problematic. Fireworks being let off in areas, people that don't know what they're doing, fireworks flying over people's houses. It hasn't resulted in a fire that I know of yet, but it could have. And it's a concern. And anybody with any pets, the pets don't, fireworks don't go very well with pets. And we get those calls all the time that their animals have been, and then doing it 2 and 3 in the morning and then going down the street, doing it all over the place. At least this way you'll be able to track who's got them because the evidence will still be there. What would the fine be?
Through the chair, that, as I said, that will be coming next month, but probably $300 to $500 fine.
Okay, so there won't be a warning because you're gonna do education first. When you come out and someone's been violating the bylaw, you're just gonna write the ticket.
Through the chair, that's correct.
And as our normal bylaws, they don't pay it, it goes on their tax.
It's a nuisance bylaw, so yes. it
Yeah,
does.
so we'll go, if it's a renter, well, it's the landlord's gonna be taking that.
Through the chair, we discussed that as staff, and actually we will be contacting the owner of the property, who then they will be permit fireworks on property, and if they didn't permit it, then they can provide the tenant's name, and we'll go after them.
All right, thank you.
Counselor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So question for you, Mr. Weidrich. So we're banning fireworks. Does that mean festivals such as Diwali, do they still exist?
You can't take away the sorry, through the chair, you can't take away the holiday, but
No,
they
but
can
can
organize that they're part of
That's
the
what I'm
group.
asking.
Yeah,
Yes.
they can organize a festival. Back in the day, the Maria de Libra had it. There were a couple other festivals like that through town that they would rent a park and they would set it off, and
So that's
people know
still,
about it.
can still happen.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And they'd have to apply for a permit. What's a permit? How much is a permit for something like that?
Through the chair, Dwayne Armstrong, Deputy Fire Chief. For consumer firework permit, it'd be $136.24. Display level fireworks, it's $340.64.
And they'd have to provide insurance that they have as well for those events. Am I correct?
It would have to be through a licensed company, a purveyor, and there would be an insurance requirement as well. So it wouldn't be the individual setting them off, it would be a professional company doing it.
Okay. I was thinking about bringing forth an amendment about having the permits waived if they followed the rules upon completion, but I'm gonna keep it that way. Still fine. Thanks.
Counselor McCurry.
Well, thank you for this. It's been a long time coming. We've debated fireworks, I don't know how many times. But it's not just about a bad few, right? There's really very few places in the city of Brantford where you can safely light off fireworks.
Through the chair, that's correct. Within the report, I actually mentioned about Roman candles, and there would only be 134 properties throughout the entire city of Brantford that could set off a Roman candle firework from their yard.
So like the parking lot at Costco would be big enough.
It's not a private property, sir.
But not the backyard of the house on Farringford, for instance.
Correct.
Yes, okay. So it's not really a small group that's ruining it. They're just aren't, it's just not safe.
Through the chair, that was the whole premise of the report, was the safety and the nuisance.
Is there anything, sorry, fine, with respect to the fines for using are the same as the fines for selling, are they?
Through the chair, no, selling would be probably $1,000 fine at this point. We're still comparing with other municipalities, but that is the going fine for selling a firework when it's banned within the city.
So would, with respect to being fair to those who've been in the fireworks business, you'd be searching for the ownership of those companies and making sure that they are told well in advance that they're not doing that anymore?
Through the chair, yes, that's why we asked for a January 2027 start date of this bylaw. But yes, we would make sure that hopefully they could sell it out of their stock or get rid of it before the ban takes place.
Yeah, I really am grateful for the work you guys have done on this. Councillor Martin and I have heard countless stories from people who have had damage to property, who've got dogs that are scared, and you know, it's especially people who are suffering maybe from PTSD, or people who have come here from other cultures that just find that sort of environment very disturbing. So I think we've struck a good balance here. We've allowed groups and organizations, the Myrtleville Mayfair Neighborhood Association could get a permit and light off fireworks in a big park, right? If they choose to.
Through the chair, correct.
Yeah, so we're not depriving people of fun. We're not depriving them of that childhood experience. They simply can't do it in their own backyard. They have to be part of an organized event and, you know, have fun that way, right? Okay, good show. Thanks, guys.
Before I go to second night speakers, I have some comments. For me, my childhood, it was to going to Princess Anne Park and seeing the display there. We had friends on Helen Ave, so we'd go to their place afterwards. So we didn't have to fight traffic to get out of there. But it was a big festival that ran all day to raise the funds to buy the fireworks and pay the permits. So, and that's still going to be allowed. So I fully support what's on the books here. As Councilor McCurry said, we've had so many complaints of people setting them off at inappropriate times and inappropriate locations, because given the few properties that have enough room, I'm sure that even some of them, there might be issues with those properties, trees or power lines that would deem them inappropriate as well. So it's actually a lower number, I suspect. So with that, we'll go to second time speakers. Councilor Sakoli.
Yes, thank you. What did you say the fine was for setting off fireworks?
At this point, some municipalities are $300, others are $500 for setting off the fireworks, and $1,000 is the norm for selling the fireworks.
Okay. And what did you say the cost was for the permits?
Through the chair, for display level fireworks, it's $340.64. Using consumer grade fireworks, it's $136.24.
So consumer grade 136, and then there was another fee?
For display level, it's just a different level of fireworks.
Oh.
It'd be $340.64.
And the cost for renting a park, would you have to rent a park to do this? Like where would you be allowed to set them off under this structure?
Through the chair, it would depend on the property owner that you're dealing with. If, like the example given was Costco, if they were willing to provide approval for that area to be used and that was part of the application, that would be reviewed. So a park rental might be appropriate depending on the size and the permissions that are granted for it.
So I could get a permit and set it off like at my house?
Through the chair, it would be a permit through hiring a professional firework company to set it off. And if your house,
So I can't just get a permit and like light off some fireworks?
no, and your house would have to be big enough to safely set off those ordinances.
So I'm kind of understanding that it's just cheaper to pay the ticket. Is that making sense? Is it worth us exploring having the ticket cost more than what it would just cost? Like, I'm just
Yeah, so
using my businessman mind and thinking,
through the chair. So with the AMP system, there are three different fines: first offense, second offense, and then continuous. And so what would happen if we start at the 300, the next ticket would be a 500 and then a 750. But if we start at the 500 right off the bat, then it'd be 500, 750, and 1,000 for setting off the fireworks. So true, if you didn't pay the 350, you would get a $500 ticket.
plus insurance, so it's significantly cheaper. Anyway, I don't want to lead anyone down the wrong train of thought here, but maybe we explore ticket prices. Thank you.
Counselor Hunt.
Thank you, and through you to staff. So Dave, we've got that we are banning the sale of consumer fireworks, and you mentioned enforcing that. So we do have a business in Ward 4. And I'm not sure if you've had a discussion with them or not regarding, so I mean, their business is the sale of fireworks, which I mean, I have no way of knowing how many they sell to consumers and how many they sell to organizations that would be able to light them off. But can you go back to what the fine would be or what the enforcement is for the business selling the fireworks, and how are we going to police that if we're talking about someone's business records?
Through the chair. So historically, fire do check on those businesses because of how they have to store them and things like that. But if the store was selling that against the bylaw, then again, the first offense would be 1,000, and it could increase the second and the third time. Or we could go right to summons and have them go to court and then ask the justice of the peace to not allow them to sell, and that would become a court order. So there's many avenues we can take.
But how are we going to police the business who probably has customers that are legitimate operators that would be, for example, renting a park or whatever? Like, how are you going to police who their customers are?
Through the chair, we have many avenues. We could get provincial search warrants to go check their books if we believe they're selling it to someone that's just going to set them off at their residential. Hopefully, and again, it'll be a follow-up. Well, if we charge someone, we'll ask them where they got their fireworks. If it was in town, then we'll be doing a follow-up with fire to check why that is happening.
Okay, well, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of a business operator. So we're now effectively putting them partially out of business, and that's, just what that looks like because I expect that from that side, we'll get calls about that as well.
Through the chair, again, this is just for consumer grade. This is not the displays. Other cities have done this, and they've continued to sell to the companies that do displays. So,
all right, thank you.
Counselor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Dave, would it not be an option to make it that the fireworks cannot be sold unless they can show that they've already received the permit?
through the chair, that would be part of the bylaw that will be written. Yes.
And with the fining, as Councillor Scully was mentioning, if we were to fine $1,000, doesn't that automatically send it to summons?
Through the chair, not with the AMP system.
Not with the AMP system? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, seeing nothing further, I just have, Councillor Caputo.
I think I'd like to introduce an amendment. And that would be that groups that are, I guess the wording would be that groups that are actually applying to run a proper firework display, and it's done properly and legally after the event, would be reimbursed for their permit fees, which will hopefully stem proper firework displays. Is that possible?
sorry, through the chair to Councillor Caputo. If I understand your question correctly, sorry, because I snuck out for a second. You're asking if they pay the charges that's in our fees and charges by law, do everything they're supposed to, can they actually get their money back? Is that what your question was?
Yeah, I think if they're gonna run an event or events or however it's gonna run, if it's done according to every bylaw that's there and there isn't any issues, to have it reimbursed, to try to trigger if fireworks are to go off, it's done in a proper fashion. Is that, can we actually do that?
But you could write that into the fees and charges bylaw, that these are the requirements that need to be met. Usually the intent of the fees are to do things like provide for cleanup if city's got to do cleanup, enforcement, all those kind of things. So that's what the fees are usually there for, but council can always direct that should all the requirements be met, that the fees be reimbursed back to the applicant.
I'd second that amendment.
Can I see the wording of it? That's kind of rambling there, so.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay. Is that it? You good with that wording?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay, to the amendment, we have Mayor Davis and then Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I've got a question for Mr. Weidrich. So when there is looking to the future, if there's an event that's been properly permitted, has the insurance going to be in a park or other facility that's appropriate for the display, would you normally have bylaw staff like check in through the course of the event just to make sure that all the rules are being followed?
Through the chair, most of those events are city events. So city staff are already there.
All right, but if there's a community group that gets a permit, 'cause I think this is what this is directed to, right? That has an event in Lions Park, they got a permit?
Through the chair, we would have to work that into our policies that yes, a bylaw officer or fire someone or team of both would go and just make sure that everything's being followed.
Right, would staff normally be doing that anyways? Like, even if this amendment were not in place?
Through the chair, we're complaint based. So usually if someone's complaining about, we would go and check it, but not proactively. But in this case, we probably would.
Okay, so you're gonna have to attend then to make sure that the refund is warranted,
Through the chair, correct.
and that'll be paid at what, time and a half? Likely?
Through the chair, no, we, bylaw runs 7 AM to 2 AM. So if it's an event, it has to be done by 11. So we'll have officers working.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you. So let me understand, community groups, regardless if they get a permit for a park and they're having an event, say Victoria Day, so maybe it's, I don't know, some kind of faith-based group or whatever. Regardless of whether they get the permit, from what I'm understanding from Deputy Chief Armstrong is that it still needs to be like a licensed fireworks company that is setting off the fireworks. So the community group, regardless if they get the permit and the insurance and whatever, it's the fireworks cannot be lit, like actual lit by the community group. It has to be a recognized pyrotechnics company.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillor Sluss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The way it's written, it indicates that the groups can be reimbursed. I think the intent was will be, should they comply with all of the complexities of getting the license and having the event. Should the word can be changed to will? I'll look for clarity from the clerk.
Through the chair, as long as the mover and seconder agree with that, I can change that.
I thought it said may be reimbursed, but yes, we'll say will.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Sullivan.
Through you to Dave, can we also make sure it's probably in there anyways, but I just want to vocalize here through council that part of that reimbursement will be proper cleanup of the event?
Through the chair, that's what I was thinking about as this came up tonight was, it would make sure that, yeah, the setbacks were proper. They had the proper person setting it off. They didn't just get a neighbor to do it. And yes, that there was no complaints to parks, that park staff had to clean it up. If any of those were breached, then yeah, they would lose the forfeit of the money.
Perfect. Thanks for the clarity, Dave.
Counselor Sokolic.
Just one more question. So if all of the fireworks are lit off by a licensed pyrotechnic company, and that company has insurance, they have to get other insurance as well? Like if the company proves insurance, is that enough?
There are rules in place for park rentals with regard to the insurance coverages and who needs to be named on it. So if that was part of the agreement with that company and they were able to follow those regulations, then perhaps it would be sufficient, but without seeing the language in those agreements, I wouldn't be able to say for sure.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Counselor McCurry.
Chair, thank you very much. The problem with amendments that come on the fly is that despite being well-intentioned, they're not necessarily well thought out, and this is the poster child for such a circumstance. I can certainly support being able to reimburse community groups, but I'd like to know what a community group is. Do they need legal standing, or could they be Greg Martin 2026 Limited? We haven't defined that. We haven't defined cleanup. We haven't defined insurance. We haven't defined bonding. We've defined really nothing other than good intentions. So I would suggest that in as much as this will come to council before the end of this month, that perhaps this question be referred back to staff so that a proper amendment could be forthcoming that would consider all eventualities, protect the city of Brantford, notably protect our assets, cover our eventualities, and yet be fair to those who might be subject to the permit. So I would like to move that this amendment be referred to staff for proper framing and presentation for council night. Do I have a seconder over there? Councillor Samwell's the seconder for the referral.
Okay. Okay, Councillor McCreary, staff are recommending that you just ask for a report back for council instead of deferring this, because that way this can move forward and show up at council. Would that be acceptable?
Yeah, that's the wish of the chair.
That simplifies things. Yeah, we'll get a report before this comes to council so that we can have a better look at what's being proposed.
Through the chair, I just want to explain, we didn't actually vote on the amendment, so we can't really refer it to council yet. So we'd have to vote on the amendment first to be able to refer it. So I just suggest that we report that staff report back to council on this amendment by next Tuesday. Yes.
I had actually not seated the floor yet.
Continue.
Do you have the timer on?
Yeah, you still have a minute and a half.
I wonder if staff might comment on this discussion of the last few minutes with respect to their ability to prepare something sensible and comprehensive by council night.
Through the chair, my understanding is council is next Tuesday, a week today. And I don't even know if I could sit down with legal to get all the proper wording out for what is a proper community group, what is a religious group, and how do we define that in the bylaw by next Tuesday? I don't see myself getting it completed.
Mr. Weidrich, thank you. I would suggest that members defeat this and it can be reintroduced at a later date in a fulsome and comprehensive and beneficial to the city of Brantford way. So I'll be voting against the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you. So there's no deferral on the floor? Has that been withdrawn?
The referral is not, the amendment is.
Yeah, just the amendment on the floor. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the clarity. So let me get this straight now. Someone's got to buy a permit, right? $300, maybe $500. And then they're going to have to rent a park or find a place for it that's acceptable for the permit approval. Right? Guidance not in the backyard. It's hired by a pyrotechnic company, so proper company, proper insured. Is the city named on the insurance as well? Because we are given a permit for you to light fireworks. I think we're probably likely going to be told we need to be named in the insurance policy.
Through the chair, for the city parks, yes.
Pardon me?
Yeah, for use of the city parks, the city would need to be named.
Okay, so city facilities would have to be named. So for all that, we're having this big debate about waiving the $300 fee. That's what this is about, waiving the $300 fee for those that apply for permits. And whether they're community groups, neighborhood associations, anybody can call themselves a group, but if they've met all their requirements and they've hired a pyrotechnical company and why would they not receive a permit and they got a park and location that, why would we care what group they are or how they call themselves a group? I don't understand why we would even worry about that. I think the amendment is simply saying we're going to waive that minimum fee of $300 for what is going to be a very large expense to hire a pyrotechnical company to do fireworks display for you.
Okay, before I go to second night speakers on the amendment, usually city fees like that are set up to recover costs. I think what would be more appropriate is if we added in a deposit and they get the deposit back if they don't leave a mess and don't break the rules for the fireworks. I can support that, but I can't support waiving the fee. So I'll be voting against the amendment. With that, we'll go to second time speakers, Councillor Hunt.
Thank you. And I'm not going to support the amendment the way it's written. And my concern is the precedent. So we have a fees and charges bylaw for all kinds of things. And we don't have basically, if you do everything you're told, you get your fees back. And I'm worried that we would be setting ourselves up for groups that hold a picnic in a park, do everything that they're supposed to. And then why are they not getting their fees back? Because they did everything that they were supposed to. So we have the fee process, and we've just discussed that fee process covers the expenses of our city staff. And regardless of whether you're doing fireworks or you're having a family picnic or whatever, there is an expectation that you have to do everything that you're told under that permit process. So it doesn't, I think we're setting ourselves up for other fees and charges that are being charged for permits for people to say, well, if I get a permit for a fireworks display and I do everything that I'm supposed to, I get my fees back. Whereas if I'm having a family picnic at Mohawk Park and I do everything that I'm supposed to, I don't get my fees back. And so for that reason, I will not support the amendment because I think it, first of all, the fees and charges bylaw is going to have to be amended to even allow for this. But I think that we have a number of other permitting fees which people are applying for and are expected to do what they're supposed to. And if they do what they're supposed to, they don't get their fees back. And I don't necessarily think that fireworks should have any special consideration for getting a refund of their fees. So for that reason, I won't support the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Caputo.
Thank you. So, maybe I need to reword this accordingly and then leave it to the discretion of bylaw and fire. But I've heard discussion tonight about picnics and so forth, but we never said families couldn't go on picnics. What we're saying here tonight is that I can't put fireworks off in my backyard. I like fireworks. I don't like them when they happen in 12,000 people's houses, but I do appreciate a firework display, whether it be something that's happening because of a function or a group or something that's happening in the public. What I'm trying to get is that if we do it accordingly, do it properly, then there should be some reward for the group that's doing it and allowing them to maybe want to do another one or so forth. But the calls I got were never from residents because a firework display was happening in a public place. It was happening, calls I was getting was because it's happening in somebody's backyard. So this is what I'm trying to get. I mean, hey, we got Winter Summer Festival. Why can't we have a firework display? We did at Winterfest. I mean, we managed it. We did it down at the bottom of, where was it? I think it was the bottom of Market Street, but that's what I'm trying to get across here. So, vote for it, vote it down. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get something accordingly, so that we can still have something done properly without penalizing people who do it right or charging them. If that makes sense.
Okay, seeing no further?
Sorry, I
Oh, sorry.
wanted to amend the amendment.
Give it a shot.
I just wanted to clarify the word community groups and replace that word with applicants. So that we're not running around. We'll save Mr. Weidrich a trip to legal. We don't need to define a community group. That applicants who apply for a permit can get it back.
Is that friendly
Is
to
that
the
friendly?
mover?
Yeah.
Councilor Caputo, is that friendly to the mover?
It is, and if possible, with the event being reimbursed at the discretion of bylaw and fire.
And that's friendly.
Councilor McCurry.
I would like to reiterate the comments of the mover who suggested that we vote it down. Thank you.
With that, we'll call the vote on the amendment.
And the amendment lost on a recorded vote of 5-6. All those voting in favor are Councillor Secoli, Caputo, Samwell, Carpenter, and Sless. All those opposed, Mayor Davis, Sullivan, Martin, Van Tilburg, Hunt, and McCreary.
Okay, so the motion unamended is on the floor. Any further speakers? Seeing none, we'll call the question.
And 7.1.6 carried on a recorded vote of 10-1. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councillors Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, McCreary, Martin, Hunt, Carpenter, Samwell, and Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Councillor Secoli.
Okay, that brings us to item 7.1.8. Mayor Davis, you asked for this one to be separated.
Yeah, this is the Terry Fox Memorial. First of all, I want to thank Councillor Sullivan for bringing this forward. I think our community has long overlooked the fact that Terry Fox came through this community and it was quite an event. And of course, he is a Canadian icon hero, which we've really not recognized in our city. And so I commend him for that. I agree it's something we should have done long ago. But when I'm looking at the report, and I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with the amount, the $250,000. And looking at the different options that other communities have done, I noticed that Burlington did at their waterfront was kind of similar to what you might do with the Remembrance Day Memorial. It was more like a memorial in granite. And wondering with a question through you to staff, what What would that cost if we were doing something like that instead of, you know, what you would more typically see with Terry Fox Night as a statute?
Hello, Kara Davy, Manager of Tourism, Culture and Sport. Through the chair to you, Mayor Davis, when Burlington did it, it was about 11 years ago and it cost $15,000. We figure with inflation and cost of materials rising, it might be about $50,000 now.
And I know there's some really good pictures, really interesting pictures. When Terry Fox came into town, there was quite a celebration. I recall some pictures of him wearing the chain of office. I think it was then Mayor David Newman. I think there was a ceremony where he was wearing the chain. And would it be possible to do something a little unusual? And that's, I don't think other communities have done that, is kind of a mural, which actually shows him when he came through our city and where that actually happened, like in reference to our own city. You ever seen a Terry Fox memorial like that?
Through the chair, back in November, I had a really nice conversation with Daryl Fox, Terry Fox's brother, and he shared that there hasn't been a mural done to date. They're not opposed to a mural. They've done a lot of statues. They don't like abstract. They do like things bearing a strong likeness to Terry. So I think a mural would fit with what the Fox family has in mind.
Yeah, make it kind of stand out from what other cities have done. What would that cost if we were doing a mural somewhere appropriate for it to be done, and probably somewhere where he stopped in the city?
Through the chair, it does depend on size. Phil Hartman was close to $90,000. So if we were looking at a similar size, I would expect it would cost maybe $100,000. If we went smaller, we would just scale it down. We would at first have to identify a location for a mural.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, if this resolution passes as it's worded, when would you be coming back to council, and how will you decide on whatever it is you'll be recommending to council by way of final approval, or will there be no final approval?
Through the chair, it would depend on the direction we receive tonight. If the direction is to come back, we could come back and say January with options and full costing. Right now, we've proposed a split costing between Public Art Reserve and council priorities, and that's because we don't have funding in Public Art Reserve until 2029. If it's going to be about $100,000, we need until 2029 to fund it. There is a 50th anniversary coming up in 2030, so if we did plan for that, it would tie really nicely with that anniversary date.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think that might be appropriate for the next council very early in their term to receive a report, perhaps Q1 in 2027, giving them a couple of different options with different costing and location. And I think it's the kind of decision we want council, any council, to weigh in on. So I'm not sure what the appropriate amendment would be. I don't want to, be accused
Your 4
of.
minutes are up, Mayor.
Yeah, okay.
Councilor McCreary.
Time goes by so quickly, doesn't it? This is very good, Kara. Thank you very much for this. I haven't been to Thunder Bay very often, but when I go through Thunder Bay, I always make sure I get off the highway and spend some time on the hill there with the Terry Fox Monument. He's sort of a Canadian saint of sorts and deserves something more than a mural, in my estimation. Murals are transient. Terry Fox is eternal in Canada. So I'm pleased to see that we're looking at a sculpture. I'm not pleased to see that we're going to squirrel it away in Ford View Park. I think it needs to be in a place of prominence along the route that the man ran through the city of Brantford these many years ago. I hope you'll take that into account as well. The STEPS Public Art Organization, they have an admin fee. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes. Steps admin fee runs about $10,000 per acquisition.
Okay, so in this case, it's a small amount with respect to the total spend that we're anticipating. Yeah, this can be, it's not just for, Terry, it's not just for his family, it's not just for the city of Brantford, but it's for people also who are going to be traveling his route through our city and maybe not realizing it. And maybe there's a way that we can also indicate route markers. Perhaps that may be something you can consider as well, demarcating the route that he took, as well as indicating, perhaps where he stopped for a minute or two. So thank you very much for this. I agree with the mayor. The decisions around a lot of this will be made in the 4 years that follow this term of council. So thank you, Kara, for this work.
Councilor Carpenter.
Thank you. It will be determined in the new council what it looks like. But one of the suggestions I'd like to throw out there is, could be part of the SEC, the sports center. If you're gonna do a mural, murals out in the weather don't last as long as they do if they're inside a building or in a sports center, for example. But other options are available. But anything will come back. I'm in support of doing this, and I thank Councillor Sullivan for bringing it forward. I know when he raised it with me some months ago now, I recall that, yeah, why haven't we done this? And that's what his first comment was, why haven't we done this? And it's long overdue, so I'll be supporting this recommendation. Thank you.
Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know there's been some concern with the cost of this, but that's actually on us because we've waited so long to do something that should have been done decades ago. So we're kind of paying the inflation on that. I also know there were comments made about doing something different. I know the concept here was to do something different in the fact that Terry rested in Brantford, not something he did in every community. And in that light, we could have some form of a monument with Terry actually sitting, not standing, because he actually rested here in Brantford for the night. So there are avenues to go with the option that's here. I thank Kara for all the hard work she's done on this, and obviously it'll be getting my full support.
Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, we'll call the question.
Item 7.1.8 carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 11-0. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councillor Secoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Slash, McCrary, Martin, Hunt, Carpenter, Samuel, and Van Tilburg.
Okay, that's all the items for consideration. Brings us to 8.1. Mayor Davis, if you'd like to move your resolution and state your seconder.
Yes, I would. So it's moved by myself, and I should indicate, Mr. Chair, there actually were 3 that were interested in seconding this. You yourself made an amendment that I've incorporated at the end of this, but I think I'll, Councillor Samuel, she was the first one to ask to second it. So I'll go ahead and read it. And it's rather long, unfortunately, but it's important. So whereas the city of Brantford has declared and continues to respond to a community-wide crisis relating to homelessness, mental health, and substance use, particularly in the downtown core and surrounding neighborhoods, whereas council has previously endorsed and funded a coordinated encampment response and homelessness strategy, including enhanced outreach, bylaw enforcement, and partnerships with health and social service agencies, whereas council has approved and continues to advance the city's housing and homelessness plan and related initiatives to increase supportive housing, improve access to services, and reduce chronic homelessness. Whereas the city works closely with other member organizations of the Drug Strategy Advisory Committee to address the impact of substance use through projects such as the Youth Engagement Series, Youth Caregiver Education Campaign, increased naloxone availability. And whereas council has repeatedly called on the senior levels of government to provide increased funding, legislative tools, and system capacity to address addiction, mental health, and housing pressures being experienced at the municipal level. And whereas council has expressed concern regarding public safety, open drug use, illegal drug activity, and the proliferation of unregulated or illegal retail operations in the community. And whereas council recognized that effective response must balance compassion and a health-based support with enforcement, accountability, and the safety of the broader community. And whereas council recognized that whereas municipalities, including the city of Brantford, continue to bear disproportionate frontline responsibility for these challenges, despite having limited jurisdictional authority. So now therefore be resolved that this resolution reaffirms council's previous actions and continued commitment to compassionate investments in housing and supports, while requesting that senior levels of government provide the authority, enforcement tools, and system capacity needed to address addiction, mental health, and community safety in a coordinated and sustainable manner. And two, that correspondence be sent to the Brantford Police Service and the Brantford Police Services Board, advising of council support for enhanced enforcement of laws relating to drug trafficking, public drug use, and associated criminal activity, and requesting a response on how the city of Brantford can support these measures. Three, the correspondence be sent on behalf of the city of Brantford to the government of Canada, requesting that it expand diversion programs for non-violent addiction-related offenses with clear pathways to treatment and recovery, strengthen legal tools available to address repeat offenses related to substance use where treatment is refused, increase support for enforcement and prosecution targeting drug trafficking and organized crime, enhance court-supported treatment and rehabilitation sentencing options, implement stronger penalties for those engaged in drug dealing and exploitation of vulnerable individuals, increase enforcement against illegal drug retail operations, expand addiction treatment and rehabilitation programming within federal correctional institutions. For the correspondence be sent on behalf of the city of Brantford, the government of Ontario requesting that it review and amend the Mental Health Act to expand the options for compassionate intervention, including mandated treatment with appropriate safeguards to more effectively address and treat those individuals who suffer from severe addiction or mental health issues. B, significantly increase investment in mental health, addictions, treatment, and supportive housing capacity to reflect the scale needed to facilitate the requested changes to the Mental Health Act. Strengthen enforcement tools to address illegal cannabis and drug-related retail operations. Expand treatment and rehabilitation capacity within provincial correctional facilities. E, review policy and planning frameworks related to the concentration and location of addiction treatment services to allow for minimum separation distances between pharmacies and methadone clinics. 5, that staff provide a report in Q4 on the long-term sustainability of the city's encampment and homelessness response model, including options for improving that program and the degree of its integration with council-approved housing and homelessness strategies. 6, the staff be directed to provide a report in Q4 on opportunities for the city of Brantford to support evidence-based prevention and early intervention initiatives, including school and community-based programs such as the Preventure program aimed at reducing youth substance use, building resilience, and preventing addiction before it begins. And 7, that such report include potential partnerships with local school boards, public health agencies, and community organizations. B, opportunities to leverage provincial and federal funding streams to support prevention programming. C, an assessment of how prevention initiatives can align with and enhance council's existing housing, homelessness, and community safety strategies. D, option for pilot programs or targeted implementation within the Brantford community. And 8, this was your request, Mr. Chair, that the province be notified the city of Brantford is willing to host a pilot project for a mandatory residential treatment facility. And I thank you for your patience, Mr. Chair, as I read that rather long resolution. If I may, I'd like to make some initial comments.
Well, your time's up, but just kidding. I haven't started your clock yet. It'll start now. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks very much. So I thought it'd be helpful at the end of this council term to prepare this resolution. Some of it reflects resolutions that we've passed before. I think it also builds on the experience all of us have gained, some of us over the last 4 years, some of us over 8 years, some of us many more years than that, as we have been trying to deal with this crisis in our community. Because make no mistake, it's a crisis. We know it is. And the problem as I see it is that across all levels of government, we're not getting a consistent approach in respect to this issue. We have some municipalities doing some things, we have some provinces doing other things, and we don't, either as a province or as a country, seem to have a really coordinated approach to this issue that brings all levels of government into alignment with a common objective. And, you know, we've had a real focus on harm reduction, like say consumption sites and whatnot. There's a role for that. But I think in my view, and certainly the view of many others, I think the emphasis has been too much of an emphasis on harm reduction, which doesn't seem to have addressed the problem. We know it hasn't. And we've really because of that, we haven't, I think, focused on what we need to focus on, which is better enforcement in respect to drug laws, but also really effective and expanded treatment, rehabilitation. And the one pillar of any drug strategy that just seems to be ignored by everybody, and that's prevention, preventative action, especially with the youth of our community. And so that's what this resolution does. It for one, it confirms, I think, a previous resolution, zero tolerance for open drug use and drug-related crime on city streets, while at the same time pushing for expanded rehabilitation, mental health services at every level of government. And how does it do that? It does that through a series of, you heard me read them, a number of different measures that are intended to, one, say with the police, not enforce, but support their efforts, and we've seen that with their local service, to be more aggressive about enforcing the laws that are on the books. For prosecutors, that they enforce in a more meaningful and manner prosecution of drug laws that are on the books. For the province, there's a real need, I think, to overhaul the Mental Health Act and radically expand the rehabilitation and treatment system and the capacity of that system for both the federal government and the provincial governments to really, in a meaningful way, include in the correctional systems real pathways for really very effective treatment and rehabilitation. And for school boards, cities, public health units, and the province, make prevention, and there's several good programs out there that build resilience and do a good job at making the youth of our community better able to resist the urge to get into a habit of addiction. They're there, but we're not really, as a society and as a city and a province, really grabbing hold of those programs and pushing them forward as a real priority. I know there's some are concerned about the references to the Mental Health Act. The Ontario Psychiatric Association has recommended a number of changes that, for example, parents having the ability to make the final decision on the treatment of their children up to the age of 18. Right now, if they're, say, 12 and the psychiatrist says they have capacity, parents cannot direct what treatment their children will receive. Expanding the period for community treatment orders. There's a number of arrangements and measures that can be done, and also changing the criteria for mandatory treatment from serious bodily harm to serious harm. So that would include potential mental harm, because frankly, some of the drugs people are taking in the street, they cause permanent damage. And I would definitely like the second speaking opportunity.
I kind of like you, Mike. Councilor Samuel.
So first, I want to thank the mayor for bringing this forward. So I'll be supporting this tonight because communities like Brantford are being asked to manage a growing crisis without the tools or authority or resources to do it alone. People deserve to feel safe in their neighborhoods, parks, downtown, and public spaces. They want action on public drug use, trafficking, exploitation, and the impacts these issues are having on our community. At the same time, we know enforcement alone will not solve the challenge. We need stronger treatment options, supportive housing, prevention programs, and pathways to recovery, working alongside enforcement and accountability. Municipalities cannot continue carrying provincial and federal responsibilities on tax dollars. We need our government partners to provide support with funding, capacity, and legislative tools needed to address these issues properly. This resolution recognizes that protecting neighborhoods, supporting recovery, and improving public safety are not competing priorities. They are part of the same solution. And so with that, I'll be supporting this tonight. And I wanted to just talk a little more about the fact that the part I liked best about it was the focus on prevention. Thank you.
Councilor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After taking 25 minutes and reading this, I realize how well written and very to the point and how important this actually is. For far too long, we've been asked as a municipality to see how we would handle situations like this. It came about 4 years ago. How do we handle what are you going to do about this situation, that situation? And the problem is, what I see today is I think we've done a better job than most municipalities in trying to take care of this issue. What I'm asking for tonight is I'm demanding is that fair funding from all levels of government and the financial help that's going to stop for Brantford taxpayers to try to take this important thing that we're dealing with here tonight and let them take some accountability where it lies. And it starts with them and it comes to us. Okay? Pressuring the senior governments and stop from us to bear frontline costs. What will this entail? By doing the preventative measures, by taking care of all these things, this is going to promote safer neighborhoods, right? Working closely with the police, right? Open up drug use and crime, like to clean up the open drug use and crime in our downtown streets and so forth, right? Tough police enforcement with compassionate to healthcare to fix our streets. Harsher penalties for drug dealers and illegal shops that directly so that they protect our neighborhoods. I was asked a while back how I would handle a situation like this if it was up to me. And 4 years ago, I answered the question when I said I would look at the Calgary model. Calgary, Alberta is absolutely doing a fantastic job in this particular field. The top 2 cities in Canada that have dealt with this crisis, the best are Medicine Hat and Calgary. And there's a reason for it. And the reason is that the provincial government of Alberta has been paid at least $187 million directly to cities in Calgary for free medical detox beds, homeless shelters, and recovery communities. And I'm challenging our government to do the same.
Councilor McCreary.
Well, when I heard the mayor reciting the resolution, I thought there was nothing possibly that could be added to it, save praise for the author, praise for the mover, and his dedication to inclusivity and word count. And I will be quite happy to support this in its entirety this evening.
Thank you. Councilor Carpenter.
Hey, Mr. Chair. I don't want to highlight what everybody's already highlighted, but everybody knows how I feel about this. But the big point here for me is the investment in mental health addiction treatment and supportive housing. Treatment does not work without wraparound services housing. It will not work under any circumstances if you send that person back out and they don't have a house. The only place they're going to housing, the one place they're going to go is back on the couch where they came from, and they'll be back addicted again the next week. So without the supportive housing and the finance, and it's not the municipal taxpayers' job to deal with addiction and supportive housing. It's the provincial government's job. And healthcare is their job. And that's what they haven't been doing in this province. Because it's already been said, it can be happen. It's happening in Alberta. So I wholeheartedly agree with everything that's here, but I especially want to highlight, we got to have housing with treatment. That doesn't work unless we do.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for including my suggestion in it. And that is for a mandatory treatment facility. It's something that I've had discussions with our MPP about, and it's something that they are considering, maybe not right away, but eventually they're looking at that. And some of the reasons for that is we're the only city our size without some kind of a residential treatment facility. And this would be one way of getting a treatment facility in our community and get the province to pay for it. The big issue in my mind is it would give judges an alternative between deciding whether to send them to Milton or put them back out on the street. Some of the violent offenders that have either mental health and or addiction issues would be better served by giving them treatment before they go to court. And this would allow for that. And it would be a way to hold them in custody within our community instead of sending them to Milton, where they can network with the criminals from the Toronto area. We've seen that doesn't work. It's brought Toronto crimes to Brantford, and that's not something that we want to see continue. So anything we can do to curb that would be beneficial. And the idea of prevention is absolutely right. When my younger son, I think it was in grade 6, there was a DARE program for all grade 6 students right across the city. I know the program had a name change after that, but I think it's kind of fallen off the map since then. It's something that we need to encourage the school boards to bring back so that our students can get the information they need about drug use before they get into the age where they're going to start using drugs. So I think that's the best form of prevention we could do, is to see that program come back. And with that, we'll go to second time speakers. Mayor Davis, the floor is yours.
Yeah,
Oh.
thanks. This resolution is, it actually is loosely based on a resolution Barry Mayor Alex Nuttall brought forward his council about 8 weeks ago. He did that after going to Alberta for a week and meeting the authorities out there. This past Friday was a meeting where the Alberta Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, Rick Wilson, he talked to our group for over an hour and a half virtually. I got to tell you, what's happening in Alberta is really exciting. It's called the Alberta Recovery Model. People think it's, well, they just take the key and they throw it away. It has nothing to do with that. It's unbelievable. First of all, they set up a dedicated government ministry to deal with addictions. The premier at the time, Jason Kenney, made it a priority for his government. And it's one of the top 3 priorities and has continued for that government. You know what they've done? Let me tell you what they've done over 3 to 4 years. They have dramatically expanded the rehabilitation system, treatment system by 10,000 beds in a province the size of Alberta. They do it in what they call recovery communities, where you can have treatment for residential treatment for up to 1 year. And after that, supportive housing. Because they're investing the money, they're making it a priority. There is now same-day treatment for those who indicate they want to have treatment. Same day across the province. They've expanded prevention and early intervention mental health supports for children and youth, and it's integrated into the provincial education system, and it's become an important priority for the educational system. What they've done in the correctional system is amazing. They've created these therapeutic living units that are separate. They're in the same facility, but they're a separate unit. So they're not in with the general prison population. They have to make commitments on receiving treatment and rehabilitation, and they get to stay there. And then they have transition after that. At the end of all that, it's taken them 4 years to expand out the system. Now they're looking at compassion intervention as the very last measure. And they make it very clear in Alberta, it is the last resort. And they're now building out how that system will work now that they have all the treatment in place, and how it'll be done compassionately with a view to helping people, but also at the same time safeguarding their civil rights. I say this is a model that our province should be emulating. And I can tell you this, the OBCM, the meeting was on Friday, the OBCM. I think you're going to find over the summer, I'm hoping the OBCM will be putting its advocacy behind a very simple concept to the Ontario government: adopt the Alberta recovery model. Thank you.
Councilor Van Tilburg.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I really want to thank Mayor Davis for bringing this forward. I can't think of much more that I've been focused on along with the mayor than this specific issue, and how many times it's hit us, it's hurt us, and we've learned from it. And people keep saying to us, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I got to tell you, the journey to what we're going to do was step by step by step, and learning and finding out that everybody wanted to operate out of their silo, and there was only one way or one thing, and it's this. When you want to say, what are you going to do? Everybody that is thinking about what are we going to do about this situation, I ask you to read this. I ask you to follow this. I ask you to repeat this to everybody out there on what are we going to do. It's taken us a long time to get there. This is the way, this is basically the only way forward that we're going to address a major crisis happening in our city. And each and every municipality, each and every city has got to stand up and say, this is what we want. This is how we're going to deal with it. There is a ton of work in here. It leaves nobody out. It leaves nobody behind. It gives everybody the choice that they're looking for. And when I see this and I hear, I remember when it was floated out, I think it was earlier in this particular term, and they said what Alberta was thinking. And I said, well, it's bold of them to do this, but they haven't thrown any money behind it because it won't work unless they do. Well, they have. They have. And our province, we're in the midst, we call it a crisis. And if it's a crisis, our province has to treat it like a crisis. If it's a crisis, our federal government has to treat it like a crisis. Everybody in every city across Ontario sees this crisis, whether it's in small town or big town, and these resources are not out here in the context that we need them. The more people that advocate and fight for this will get us everything we need in order to deal with the situation, right from prevention to how we care for those that have been affected that we didn't get to soon enough. And again, this has been a heck of a journey to get here. I can't think of anything more comprehensive than this. So Mayor Davis, thank you for putting this significant piece together.
Thank you. And with that, we have no, Councilor Carpenter.
Just one thing to add, besides, thank you, this is the right step. Thank you for that. We have a number of members of council going to AMO this year. And I don't know if you're going or not, Mr. Mayor, but we should be making sure we meet with the ministers there while we're there and to push this approach, tell them why we want it done and how they need to put their money forward to make this happen in our community, and make us a test community if you have to make it work and show how it works, and we can spread this across the province. So thank you for that.
Seeing no further comments, we'll call the question.
Counselor Hunt, I'm just waiting for yours.
Sorry, I'm a yes. My e-scribe just went down.
Thank you. Item 8.1 carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 11-0. All those voting in favor are Councilors Van Tilburg, Samwell, Carpenter, Hunt, Martin, McCurry, Sless, Caputo, Sullivan, Secoli, and Mayor Davis.
Okay, 8.2, Councilor McCurry, I understand you want to waive the rules to add a notice of motion to the agenda.
Yes, that is correct.
Yep.
Chair, moved by me. I'm seeking a seconder.
Yeah, Councilor Van Tilburg.
Councilor Van Tilburg is seconding. Thank you for that. It's a motion to waive the rules, waiving 15.5.9 and 15.11.5 of chapter 15 to add an agenda item without prior notice and to consider the resolution 8.2 Fulton Street two-way traffic. Whereas Fulton Street was converted from two-way to one-way traffic, and whereas that work was undertaken as part of the Terrace Hill Neighborhood Traffic Review Report number 2022-547, and whereas neighbors have expressed a strong desire to revert to the original road conditions, and whereas neighbors have petitioned the city of Brantford to restore the original road condition, now therefore be it resolved that the one-way section of Fulton from Alma to Charing Cross Street be repealed, and the staff take all actions to restore the original road conditions on Fulton, and that the necessary bylaw be presented to City Council for adoption. And Chair, may I indicate why we'd like to do this tonight?
Yes, you can speak to the urgency of it.
Yeah, thank you. It's not so much urgency. We received a petition of the discontent has been going on for quite some time with the neighbors. Imagine having to go around your own block to get to your house. So we got the petition in the last week or so. All that's required is to take down 2 signs, about 15 minutes of city work. It'd be nice if we could simply show folks in the city of Brantford how quickly we can respond to the concern. So I'd appreciate if folks would allow this to come forward tonight.
On the need for waiving the rules, Councilor Carpenter?
Yes, I
go
still
ahead.
I still haven't heard an argument for why this couldn't go the normal process, why we gotta waive the rules and do this in the next 2 weeks. I haven't heard that argument. I just heard that I'd like to do it. So is this, I remember this 4 years ago. We had a number of these 4 years ago, almost a similar thing. It's almost like, knocking on the doors, I want this done. And maybe there is a reason to do it, but I haven't heard that.
Excuse me, that's attributing motive to something that has none, Mr. Chair. I'd like to see that withdrawn. It was quite clear that this was a result of a petition.
I haven't heard the reasons for why it needs to come forward tonight.
I'd like to have it withdrawn. Yeah, please.
Councilor Carpenter, you assigned motive and that needs to be withdrawn. You're not going to withdraw it?
Sure.
Okay. Councilor Van Tilburg.
It was, an incident that happened on there that I would think created the urgency in the petition. We literally had our own city vehicles going the wrong way down the street. And, other people have been doing it. So because of that danger and because I happened to receive, they thought wrong ward counselor, I'm well aware of what has happened there and how come the urgency to rectify this, came before. The petition's a bonus.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Secoli.
What I was gonna say is that while I'm supportive of the core of what this is, I didn't really hear a compelling case to be waiving the rules, so I was not going to be supporting that, but now I'm gonna have to give that a little think. Thank you.
So that will call the vote on waiving the rules, and just a reminder, we need a 2/3 vote on this.
And the motion to waive the rule carried on a recorded vote of 10-1. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Caputo, McCurry, Martin, Hunt, Carpenter, Samwell, Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Councillor Scully.
Okay, Councilor McCurry, you can now move your motion and state your seconder. You don't need to read the whole thing, just the title.
I'm presuming my seconder is Councillor Van Tilburg. And I don't think I could express it any more clearly than he did. I was not going to raise what Councillor Van Tilburg raised, but it is quite accurate, and that was in fact the genesis for the immediacy of the desire to do this. If we are, if it's so difficult to adopt to that one way that our own folks are even going the wrong way, I think it's high time that we reverted to the original condition. No harm, no foul. We do these things. And I think there probably was a good reason to do it. And that good reason remains. It simply is, the fact that folks just can't get used to it. And it is a nuisance. I certainly wouldn't want to live on a street where I had to go around the block to get home. So hopefully everybody would support this tonight. Like I said, it's just a matter of taking down a couple of signs, maybe a half an hour of staff work. And this can be concluded before the end of the month and everybody comes away happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hunt.
Just a, sorry, quick question through to staff. So this traffic review was done in 2022. So has it been a one-way street for 4 years or?
Through the chair, Rob Smith, Traffic Safety Supervisor. It's been one way for 2 years.
Okay, thanks, Rob. So I guess the converse issue could happen when someone obeys the fact it's a one-way street. And now we have traffic going in the other direction. But I'm gonna defer to the ward councillor for that reason. But thank you for that explanation, Rob. I was just looking at the date of the report and thought we were changing something that had been in place for 4 years. Thank you.
Okay, seeing nothing further, we'll call the question.
Item 8.2 carried unanimously on a recorded vote of 11-0. All those voting in favor are Mayor Davis, Councillors Secoli, Sullivan, Caputo, McCurry, Martin, Hunt, Carpenter, Samwell, and Van Tilburg.
Okay, we have 3 notices of motion. So Councillor Caputo, if you could read the title of your notice of motion, please.
I'd like to ask a question prior to, if we can. Is it possible that I don't want to waive it to be read tonight, but I'd like to waive it so that it's actually addressed at council next week? Is that possible?
Through the chair, so you have a notice of motion that you'd like to put the title on the floor tonight so that you can consider it at council?
Yes, I want it in this cycle if possible. How do I do that? Or do I have to ask to waive the rules?
You'd have to waive all the rules tonight because we don't actually consider resolutions at council. They have to be considered prior to council unless the mayor and CAO deem them urgent.
So I'd like to waive the rules if possible for tonight.
Do you have the wording of the resolution to put on the floor tonight?
It's written in the
Oh, you'd like to waive the rules for, okay, the one that's already
Yes.
provided notice. Okay. Okay, so yes, you would just need to waive the rules to consider that as a resolution this evening.
Yes. Seeking a second. You gonna second it? Seconded by Councillor Scully.
Mr. Chair, if I may have the floor. This pertains to the item that I declared a conflict on earlier.
Okay,
Same address, so same conflict.
okay.
I have to read the nom first.
You have the floor, Councilor Caputo, if you'd like to read the motion to waive the rules.
Like to waive the rules to allow the consideration for tonight. And just carry on with the nom. So it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sluss. Whereas the corporation of the city of Brantford requires a minor variance application be approved to address deviations from the minimum or maximum requirements of the city's applicable zoning bylaws and municipal codes. And whereas the owner of 113 King George Road received a refusal on November 3rd, 2023 for a minor variance application, file A34, 2023, to permit a 3 side-by-side billboard signs. And whereas the owner of 113 King George Road received an approval on April 8th, 2026 for a minor variance application, file A05, 2026, to permit 3 side-by-side billboard signs and permit a third face on the billboard that is not clearly visible from King George, and the owner submitted a check for $2,873.70, the applicable 2025 minor variance application fee. And now therefore be it resolved that the city council waive the applicable minor variance application fee and direct planning staff to refund the submitted fee of $2873.70 to the applicant.
Okay, any questions, comments on waiving the rules? Councillor Hunt?
Sorry, I'm just wondering if we could speak to the urgency. Of
The
tonight.
urgency is I'd like to have it done in this particular cycle, because we actually approved this evening on 7/11, the amendment of chapter 478 for a municipal code. So I'd like to have the applicant reimbursed in this particular cycle. So I want it on to this month.
So 711 is gonna come before council for ratification next week, so. So while we approved it at committee of the whole,
Okay, well, no cross debate.
sorry. So I guess I'm looking at the clerk in terms of,
Through the chair, that would be up to the Councillor Caputo if he would like to push it through tonight, and you can vote accordingly.
okay, thank you.
Councilor Van Tilburg, were you wishing to speak?
Well, just about changed my mind here. The urgency is that it wants to be passed this month. And yet we don't know how the vote would go in 2 weeks on the item that it's tied to. So I'm a little puzzled on the urgency until after the item is actually passed.
Hey, with that, Councilor Carpenter.
Just talking about the urgency, I went through the normal process, passed the notice of motion, should have been here tonight, and it's not.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Can,
I'm sorry. I missed what Councillor Carpenter said.
okay, we'll call the question on waiving the rules.
Do whatever you want.
Again, needing a 2/3 vote. Oh, didn't come up properly. There.
Sorry, I'm a no, my e-scribe crashed.
And the motion to waive the rules lost on recorded vote of 6-4. All those in favor are Mayor Davis, Secoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, Carpenter. All those opposed were Counselor Martin, Hunt, Samuel, and Van Tilburg.
Okay, so I'll just read the title.
So this will
Right
come
now?
forward in the normal cycle. Okay. And,
I'll read the title of my nom now. Did I read the title of my nom?
I think you already have, but read it again if you want.
Did I? Waiving of certain planning application fees, 113 King George Road.
And Councilor Samuel, you have two. Please read the title of your notice of motion.
Thank you. Why we remember telling the story of remembrance all year and Daubeny Creek boat launch renaming.
Okay. Thank you. And that's the end of our agenda. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.